All of my videos so far seem to be getting cut off on the other side of the polytunnel before we get to this side. I've done a couple of shorts this side and I've shown the pea plant and what a screw up that is, but I haven't shown anything else. Aside from the vegetables in the plot along this sort of border here, I've planted wildflowers this year just to brighten things up a little bit, and that's them starting to flower now as we get into summertime, which is good. I also planted some border plants here and there. I don't know if you can make them out under the mesh there. Some of those, just to keep things tidy. Now, these two beds here had onions in them, and those onions are now harvested. I've done a short on them. They're all sitting on a grid under cover at the back of the allotment. But here, I planted this tomato plant in amongst them. I had a spare tomato plant. I just wanted to see what would happen if I stuck one outdoors in our climate, to see how well it would do, if it would do very well at all. And it wasn't doing very well up until this heat wave started, at which point it started to look very healthy and started to grow. So maybe I'm onto something. Maybe if this weather continues where we are in Scotland, I'm on the east coast in Fife, we could probably grow these in future, you know. Maybe not pineapples or anything like that, but tomatoes, yeah, that'd be quite good. Maybe a benefit of climate change if there was such a thing. If we move over here into this bed, I said already we had onions in this bed, but we still have onions in this bed. Although these are spring onions, these are the same variety, White Lisbon, that we have under there as well, if you can make that out, under the cover. The only reason those onions there are under cover is because they're in the same bed as greyhound cabbage, which all needs to be harvested, as the heads are actually not the loose heads anymore that I usually get from greyhound. These are quite tight heads. These will probably start making flower stalks soon. In fact, I could probably feel that one starting to do that, so they'll need to come out. So in this bed, as I said, we've got onions, we've got White Lisbon onions here and there. We've got some volunteer carrots from last year coming back, which isn't all that handy. In here I had something else. I had broccoli at the start of the season in the spring. That all came out ages ago, and I've planted lettuce in place of it. I'm just letting this lettuce grow a little bit, and then I'm going to start harvesting it, just taking leaves, the outer leaves, and keeping the plant alive. And that should last us the rest of the summer. This is a volunteer broad bean plant, which is good. I've already taken a couple of pods off of that just to taste them. Really good. It's just one of those ones that got left from last year. Fennel. The fennel was really, I don't think this bed is great for the fennel. It's not been fantastic this year. It hasn't grown very fast, but now that it's getting into summer, it's just wanting to go to seed. So that's going to come out. That's not good anymore for food. Some of them are still okay. Maybe grab some of these smaller ones before they go the same way. At the back of that, we've got chicory. As you can see, I've been picking at that. It wants to go to seed at this time of year as well. I'm just picking off the seed stalks, so that I can keep the thing going. Oh, I've got grass here that I didn't notice. That's going to seed. Don't let that happen in your beds. Here we've got coriander as well. Coriander also flowering this time of year. And next to that, we've got some salad rocket again, which wants to flower at this time of year. If we keep the flower stalks off, it'll pick up again in the autumn, and we'll be able to eat that. Here are some Spanish white onions, and these have only recently started to bulb up. I thought they were never going to do it, but they're looking absolutely lovely. These are all multi-sown, so they're growing in little clumps. I'm not going to harvest them all at once. I'll harvest the ones as I need them and try them out. There's a thistle. I'm not going to try and take that out without my gloves on. Up here we've got broad beans. This is save seed from last year. They're doing really well. Planted these in the spring, and that's the pods all coming on them now. Should get a good harvest off of these. These ones were, I think that's a leaf cutter beetle, or a leaf cutter bee, sorry, that's done that right at the start of the season. It's not a problem with the plant, but the plants are getting old now, so these are getting near harvest. But that happened when they were very young and just kept happening. So we've got little beasts. Oh, in fact, no, there is the culprit there. That's not a leafcutter bee. That's something like a soldier beetle. One to try. Now, over there we've got beetroot. These are also multi-sown, growing in little clumps. I've already harvested 2 out of this one. 4 in a clump is probably the ideal number. I wouldn't do more than that. Another weed. There's not many weeds, you'll notice, in here. There aren't all that many in the beds because this is no dig, and we don't disturb the soil here. We just put a layer of compost on every autumn and allow it to grow through. Now, I'm saying we're not getting many weeds, but we're finding quite a few. These are all weeds that blow in. Unfortunately, not everybody who has an allotment is as diligent in their weeding as we are, and a lot of the seeds obviously blow in from over there. In this bed we have kohlrabi, which is getting very, very big. I don't think the fruits, the root ball is going to be very big on the kohlrabi because we're getting too much greenery on them. Just down to this weather that we're having, crazy weather. In here, I think we've got a cauliflower down there. This is a squash plant that suddenly went crazy in here. This net is going to have to come off. It doesn't really need to be on anymore. We've got a couple of lettuce plants here. This one here is going to seed. That is fine. I'm going to save seed off of these. You only need 1 lettuce plant to keep you going. Down here we've got a coriander that's went to flower. I may save the seeds off of them as well. But here we have Mozart cabbage. This is my favourite kind of cabbage to grow. And I had originally probably 6 or 7 in here, but the pests, we got them. We get a lot of sort of caterpillars and flea beetles, and yeah, so they were destroyed. But I've only got 3 surviving, but they seem to be coming along okay, creating nice heads. I don't know if you can make that out through the mesh, but it's really nice looking. There's the disaster of a pea plant. Now that it's got lots of heavy pods on it, it's just all falling to the ground. I'm going to have to harvest that one just shortly and then get completely rid of it. In this bed at the back, behind the beetroot, we've got parsnips. Now, parsnips were planted, sown from seed in situ. So these are all just grown from seed where they are. We had parsnips further down the allotment last year, and they were wonderful. We got massive parsnips from it. I mean, you could club somebody. You play baseball with some of the parsnips that grew last year. They were so big. But over here, we've got a kind of 2 sisters thing going on. The beans have only just reached the top of the TP. We've got 3 different varieties of beans in here. We have got, I'll try and remind myself, we've got Borlotti beans, we have Blauhilde, and we have Blue Lake. So these are just cooked as green beans. These ones come out purple, as you can see in the little picture, but they turn green when you cook them. And all of the ones around this side are climbing Borlotti beans. Now, I've always tried to grow Borlottis, and the seeds I always get seem to be dwarf seeds. And this year I deliberately sought out the climbing ones because the dwarf ones never seem to do very well in our climate. You're lucky if you get 1 pod off of them. But in the middle, with it being the 2 sisters, we've got a squash plant. I don't know if we can see the leader, where the leader has disappeared to here. It's away under there, but there's another one crawling this way. This is a gem squash. I think I've done a short on this already. There's one there. They don't look very gemmy, squashy. Gem squashes are supposed to be round. They're like round balls, and that doesn't look like a round ball to me, so I think it's maybe crossed with something last year, because these are saved seed. I've done that with a few things this year. As you can see, this is going on a trip. We've got some other squash plants here growing along. We've got some supports either end, and they'll climb up the fence eventually up here. But the soil quality here isn't great. These were just spares. I'll show you the ones up the other side of the allotment right now. We've got some fruit trees at the back of polytunnel. We have a grapevine, we have a kiwi, we have white currant, which all of the fruits have been eaten by birds, and we have our raspberries, which are now starting to fruit, and these are really nice raspberries. Moving swiftly round to the other side, polytunnel we've been in another video. The squashes are now kind of bursting their banks. As you can see, they're coming out onto the path, and I want to try and contain them in the beds as much as possible. I don't want too much coming across the path. At this moment in time, we have some fruits that aren't going to come to anything. This is a curry. This was quite early. As you can see, when you see the stem turning yellow as well, you know that that's not gonna cut the mustard. That one's gonna go. That's gonna die a death. But as long as we get more, that's fine. We've got a candy roaster in here somewhere. There's another curry coming. That one looks a lot healthier. We've got a candy roaster fruit here. There we are. The squash coming. Now that is now about 3 inches long. That fruit is gonna be probably the size of this leaf eventually, and shaped like a rugby ball or an American football, whichever way you want to put it. Little curry at the top here. It's nice to see all the squashes coming. This is the best part of it. You know, when you see the flowers opening like that. And those are the male flowers, by the way. They're not attached to a fruit. But if I can try and hunt out another one here. There's little tiny fruits coming on there. That's a gem, I think. There's a gem squash plant in the middle here. There's a blue banana up here that I did see, and another curry. So there's a curry squash, and we have another candy roaster, and we have a blue Hungarian here. That looks lovely. They look very healthy, these plants, at this moment in time. This one here is still very tasty. This is a Maroc, so whatever pest it is that's enjoying that keeps coming back, regardless of how big the plant gets. And have we got any on this one? This is a sweet dumpling. This one doesn't really have a leader stem coming out of it yet. Oh, here we go. Here's one here. So that's going to head this way, which should be fun. But I am pretty sure we had a blue banana squash, and I really want to stick it in this video rather than have... Oh, here we are. Here we are. So there's a blue banana squash forming from this plant here. And there's a Maroc as well that's climbing over this way that may have fruit on it as well. Is this the Maroc here? It's got a tiny, tiny little fruit on it, the Maroc. So that's good. So those are the squashes. These are the peas. I think I did a video about these ones before. These are saved seed peas from last year. This is a variety called Meteor, and it's a dwarf variety. And it's been terrible this year, and I'm not going to persevere with it. I'm quite happy with the other variety. The other one, by the way, is Alderman. And they've got rather bigger, sweeter pods, and they can be eaten as munch too. So they're a lot more friendly and versatile. This under here, we have cauliflower. And I'm going to need to check underneath, and I'll do that right now actually. Let's take this off. Let's try and take it off and see what's going on with these cauliflower plants. Do we have anything? Yeah, okay, so the leaves curled over there tell me that there's a curd forming underneath there. So that's good, they'll be ready soon. Looking forward to those. There's nothing better than homegrown vegetables of any kind, but cauliflower especially, are more enjoyable, partly because they're probably the most difficult plant to grow. And most, as you can see, I mean, it's basically in Fort Knox there, and that's to protect from pigeons, cabbage white butterflies, you know, all the kind of pests that affect these, because these ones are a magnet for them all. They'll get eaten by everything. As you can see, one leaf sticking out and it's full of holes. Further up, Jerusalem artichokes. First ever time I've grown these. I don't know what I'm doing with them. I'm having to follow directions from other people, so I'm not going to talk too much about those, apart from the fact that probably a good idea to support them. I think I did a short about that. We had one here that snapped off. Potatoes, I have harvested a few of these because it looks to me like they're getting a little bit blighty, so they're going to have to come out shortly, these ones. Those ones still okay. This bed here had onions in it. The onions were harvested, so this is free. I don't know what I'm going to put in there next. I'll probably put in carrots. But I do have seed trays over here. This is where the garlic was. It's all now hanging up over there. This is the tree cabbage, which I need to pick up all of these yellow leaves because they'll just attract pests. If you see yellow leaves on any plant that's outdoors, pick it up because it attracts slugs to the plant. Slugs are attracted basically to fermenting leaves. These leaves are probably giving off the smell of alcohol, and that's what attracts them. That's why bear traps work for them. Slugs are nature's party animal. They basically look for the alcohol, and that's where they'll find it. So if you take off all of them, this plant becomes no longer of any interest to the slug whatsoever. So that's one reason for keeping off yellow leaves. Now that happens with every plant, even chilies, because they will eat your chilies. I'm going to do a separate video about the chili greenhouses just towards the middle of this week. I already did the first half of it at the beginning of the week, but we'll do that before the end of this week, and that will take in what's in the polytunnel as well. So seeds this time of year, yes, we're still planting, we're still sowing seeds. We've got turnips, we've got Palarosa, chicory, we've got something else that I can't make out from this angle. We've got beetroot, we've got Swede, Savoy, kohlrabi, and we have fennel, which hasn't come up yet. So this is the time of year for planting fennel from seed, because then it will grow into the autumn and it won't bolt, it won't go to seed, and you should get usable fennel. But that's pretty much it for this roundup of everything of the allotment. I hope you've enjoyed seeing that. It's just this place. I'm gonna put up a video of how this progressed and what state this land was in when we got it, compared to what we have now, 2 years later, and that should be of interest to everybody. Just one more thing, a couple more things to show you. This is the herb garden. We've got lots of things in here. We've got marjoram, we've got thyme, we've got weeds, lots of weeds. We have what do we have? We have oregano, sage, we have rosemary, we have lavender, we have a sunflower, we have chamomile, we have lemon balm, we have mint, we have another kind of sage which is pineapple sage, which if you can plant it, it's brilliant. And we have some stuff that we saved from the French tarragon that I dug out a couple of weeks ago over there, because it was basically turning into a tree. On this side we've got our alpines, so we've got their strawberries and a couple of alpine plants, and we've got a Aloysia there. Aloysias are my favourite plant in the world. They have the most beautiful flowers in nature. Apart from that, we also have an apple tree, which is just in its second year now, and it's the first year that we've had apples on it. And I don't think we're going to get to eat any of them because other things have been eating them, which is handy. But yeah, cherry tree with nothing on it. Yeah, so I hope that was interesting. There's a lot of work to do here. You'll see all the weeds kind of round about the edges and things. It's the middle of summer, that's to be expected. It's not anything to panic about. If you have a bit of ground and you see it starting to become overrun a little bit by weeds, don't let it dishearten you. They're part of nature. Just keep them trimmed back and everything will be fine. So thanks for watching the video. If it's of any interest to you at all to continue watching these things, then please subscribe, click a little bell to get notifications of when I'm going to be releasing new content, and if you want to give me a big thumbs up, that would be fine as well. Thanks for watching.